The Hudson River at night was an expanse of inky blackness, the water mirroring the sky above in its impenetrable depth. Tay had worked as a stevedore for nearly 10 years, loading and unloading massive cargo containers at the New York harbor. The midnight shift wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough to keep him working at ABL Shipping. Tay had grown used to the solitude and the heavy silence of the harbor at night, interrupted only by the distant hum of tugboats or the occasional echo of gulls. This night, however, felt off. The air was heavier than usual, clinging to his skin and carrying a strange, briny tang that set his teeth on edge. "Yo, Tay, you good?" called Marcus, his co-worker, as he passed by with a forklift. "Yeah, I'm good. Just feels weird out here tonight," Tay replied, shaking off his unease. The shift started as usual, containers hoisted, chains clanging, and the low rumble of engines. Tay was overseeing the loading of a massive ship when he noticed her. She was standing in the shadows of the restricted area near the water's edge. A woman, long flowing hair and a dress that seemed too light for the chilly night. Her back was to him, but something about her presence didn't sit right. "Hey, you can't be here," Tay shouted, stepping closer. The woman didn't respond. "Lady, you hear me? This area's restricted," he called again. Still nothing. "Marcus!" Tay waved to his co-worker, who hopped off his forklift and jogged over. "What's up?" Marcus asked. "You see her?" Tay pointed to the woman. Marcus squinted. "Yeah, let me handle it." Tay watched as Marcus headed toward her, his flashlight cutting through the dark, but as he approached, the woman turned the corner behind a stack of cargo containers. A minute passed, then 2. Tay called out, "Marcus, you good?" No answer. When Tay went to check, Marcus was standing in the spot where the woman had been, staring out at the water. His flashlight hung loosely at his side. "Marcus!" Tay barked. Marcus startled, blinking as if waking from a dream. "What? Oh, yeah, she's gone, man." "You sure?" Tay asked, frowning. "Yeah, I must have, I don't know, lost her," Marcus muttered, scratching his head. The rest of the shift unraveled like a nightmare. Workers began to falter, dropping tools, misjudging movements, and damaging cargo. A guy named Javi sliced his hand open on a jagged edge of metal, staring blankly at the blood like it wasn't even his. Another nearly crushed his foot under a container. "Tay, something's wrong tonight, man," one of the older guys, Pete, said. His voice trembled and his eyes darted nervously. Tay couldn't deny it. His crew, usually sharp and efficient, was sluggish and distracted, their eyes glazed as if caught in a trance. Then he heard it. A sound floated on the air, faint at first, but growing stronger. A song. It was haunting, melodic, and impossibly beautiful, like the hum of a cello paired with a woman's soft, mournful voice. Tay froze, his heart pounding in his chest. "Tay," Pete murmured, his voice shaking. "What is that?" Tay whispered, looking around. But Pete was gone, wandering toward the edge of the pier like a sleepwalker. Tay ran after him, grabbing his arm just as Pete reached the ledge. "Pete, what the hell are you doing?" Pete stared blankly at Tay, his lips moving silently as if singing along. Then he smiled and leapt. Tay screamed, leaning over the edge. The water below was black and endless, no splash, no trace of Pete. Pete! Tay shouted into the abyss, his voice breaking. Suddenly the world shifted. The hum of machinery stopped, the lights flickered, then went out completely, plunging the harbor into darkness. Tay's breath quickened as the siren's song grew louder, wrapping around him like a vice. He turned to run, but tripped over something, a flashlight. His chest tightened as he realized it belonged to Marcus. "Marcus!" Tay yelled, scrambling to his feet. No answer. The song was deafening now, pulling at him, beckoning him toward the water. He clamped his hands over his ears and stumbled toward the control shack, his only hope of contacting help. But when he reached it, the door was ajar, and the inside was empty. The radio was smashed, and the clock on the wall was frozen at midnight. Through the window, Tay saw them, his crew, all of them, walking silently toward the water's edge. Their movements were slow, deliberate, like puppets on invisible strings. "No, stop!" Tay screamed, running outside. One by one they stepped off the pier, swallowed by the void below. Tay's legs gave out, and and he collapsed onto the cold concrete. The siren's song was inside him now, filling his head with visions of the woman, her pale face, her dark, fathomless eyes. She was standing on the edge, staring at him, her lips moving in a soundless melody. Then she smiled and extended her hand. The last thing Tay saw before the darkness claimed him was the Hudson River.